1982, Fighting Fantasy: The Warlock of Firetop Mountain, the book, not the game, was released to the public. It flopped fucking hard. I'll explain why in a second. In the later years and its subsequent sequels, which by the way were released up to 1995, gained sort of a cult following within the gamebook community. The details of this book and its sequels are so hard to find online nowadays that it's borderline lost media save for some archives. The reason this game flopped is not because any of it was bad. A lot of it was actually really good stuff for a tabletop choose-your-own-adventure clone. The little bit of the following that it gained back in the early 80s was fairly sizable. Unfortunately, it was very much overshadowed by the other thousands of similar book games, along with the fall of, I'm gonna be honest, like game books in general. Fast forward to around, I don't know, 2008, and some guys over at Big Blue Bubble, you know, that Big Blue Bubble. Yep. This is before this. Let's just make that clear. Picked up a license to the original first book. Their response,
Skyrim
is on the rise, was to develop a first-person action RPG retelling of the original Firetop Mountain. The development of this game is also borderline impossible to find information on. It was released in November of 2009 and was announced in, at least according to an old NeoGAF post from back then, early 2008. By this we can assume that the game probably started development around
mid to late 2006.
I did attempt to reach out to the developers of the game. They didn't answer me, one, because I'm tiny, and two, they're all still working at Big Blue Bubble making My Singing Monster. The game, much like the book from 1982, also flopped. This is because of a combination of the fact that, one, it was a 3D first-person game on the DS, which really wasn't well-defined in 2009, or let's be honest here, ever. And the amount of RPGs coming out for the DS at the time was very much market oversaturation. And really, that's the story of Fighting Fantasy. You know, it was overshadowed by, like, all the other better stuff that came out way before it. And it is kind of a really sad ending to hear. And now it's 2025, and the game makes up for its flop so damn well. Right out of the gate, I want to state that this game is heavily influenced by stuff like Daggerfall and Morrowind. That doesn't mean it's unoriginal, but the design influences of RPGs in the mid to late 2000s are definitely on full display here. Progression of this game especially. Progression is very tedious, but very rewarding at the same time. Because it's a DS title, large spikes in difficulty are everywhere. Not just in the fact that it's a DS title, but the fact that it's a first-person DS title. Enemies are hell sponges, ridiculously hard to kill things that with the wrong armor will rock your fucking world. However, there's a nice balance between running through the entire dungeon in fear.
What the fuck is that? Bitch, come back here. What? Holy shit, that does a lot of damage. Holy fuck.
And walking into a room, battle axe in hand, and slaughtering every orc or wisp that crosses your path.
Oh, this section's gonna be so much easier now. Yeah, fucking bitches. Yeah. It's so much easier, holy shit.
And when you return to a previously difficult area, and the scales are tipped far further in your favor than before, oh my god, it's fucking satisfying. The systems in this game are also a lot like Daggerfall. Magic itself is entirely optional, with permanent spells locked behind abilities that, while you can get them right at the start of the game, you otherwise have to attain by leveling up. It's a good balance to stop you from becoming too powerful too early. This game also has an attribute system, there being 4 in total. Stamina, which increases your max health, Intuition, which increases your max mana, Skill, which increases agility and cranks up your crit chance, and Luck, which the game does not outright explain to you, but mainly affects things like loot from enemies. Unlike abilities, which I'll cover in a second, attributes are all given to you right at the start of the game. If you put lots of points on Stamina, you're going to be a health sponge very quickly, which is good for heavy builds. If you put them on Intuition or Skill, you're going to have better luck with an assassin or magic build. If you put them on luck, you're playing Fallout New Vegas. Combining all of this, you level up and increase your strength very slowly, going from a lowly peasant who can barely hold a knife correctly.
Why does this thing take so long to kill? I've been sitting here for, like, a little bit. Hey, this is a dummy. How is this thing alive?
Into an axe-wielding maniac tearing through armies single-handedly. It's a very rewarding progression system that not only encourages going towards what fits right for you, but rewards you for doing so. Using the system in fights, though, it's really not that apparent. It's a little a little not in my favor. As I said before, this game has a lot of Hell Sponge enemies who do a lot of damage. The controls and collision with said enemies is just clunky enough to where oftentimes you can get yourself stuck in a corner and getting your shit rocked. And most of the time, if you find yourself in that position, you don't have the firepower to get through them. The bad enemy AI is helped, however, by the healing system. If you select Light as one of your abilities in the early game character creator, you gain access to a very spammable health spell that doesn't use up too much mana and is great if you're in a tight spot. The AI can't walk a circle around a table, so if you hide behind a rock or a wall and spam heals, you can get back into the fight fairly easily. It's not a balance that should be there, but it's a balance nonetheless. You can use the spam strategy on enemies, but it's a lot easier to just move back, level up a bit, get some better gear, and come back when you're ready to actually fight them. Speaking of... fuck, why are we fighting them? At the beginning of the game, you arrive in a small, shitty boat in a town called Stonebridge. Your goal is to get to, get this, the Warlock at Firetop Mountain. Zagor himself, for a good chunk of the game, is a very elusive character. Up to the fight, you only see him a few times, usually in cryptic G-Man-like passages as he menacingly floats above you, kind of. But otherwise, he's not a very deep character. Depth in this game's plot is not there. After you exit Stonebridge and head towards the mountain, the story takes a nosedive. The story is, much like the original book, mostly entirely up to you depending on which path you take, save for the tiny lore tidbits you gain from talking to the characters.
Not that I care if I see you. Jesus Christ, tone down the edge, dude.
It takes itself seriously, but it's not afraid to deviate from that seriousness for the sake of humor. It's a great reliever after a long battle chopping your way through armies. Overall, it's a very freeing and open game, with no real centralized plot like you'd see in Skyrim, Morrowind, or Daggerfall. Do what you want. Just don't die.
Yeah, that's not ominous at all.
With that being said, you might be thinking, damn, this game must really fucking suck in terms of story. And you'd be right. But the story is carried by the game's atmosphere. The sound design trope of random sounds from random direction has never really worked well, but the game puts you on edge. If you're moving ahead quickly in the game, you're on the edge of your seat, looking around and staying alert. So when a random sound plays, you think it's a new enemy. The game doesn't really use this random sound design thing after the first couple sections, but it's a great hook in terms of establishing that there is in fact an unknown inside this mountain. The environment itself is also all mostly underground, inside the mountain. While this might seem kind of boring at first, it's a great way to get you used to the game. The mostly brown and gray colors of the first area contrast really well with the enemy types, which usually have at least one or two bright primary colors to help you spot them better. Not to mention that besides the random sounds, the underground ambience is stellar. The graphics themselves are also, well dated, incredibly impressive for a DS game. The game gives you a brightness slider in case you're playing on an older model with a shittier backlight like the original model, but even without touching that slider once, the game constantly makes use of light and dark to contrast the fantasy environment that you're in. Lighter places are usually well lit for a reason, be it that they're dens or taverns or merchant shops. Darker places are usually damp, abandoned caverns filled with secrets or shrouded in mystery, unlit for centuries but still visible simply by the light of the magic in the room. No place in the game needs any kind of torch, but dark and light are obvious and well drawn out. Big Blue Bubble excels in their ability to set tones on the hardware they were given, which is impressive given said hardware. What made this game so unequivocally bad was the fact that it was on the Nintendo DS. The controls are somewhat clunky because the touchscreen uses multiple slots on the spell wheel as extra buttons, which in any other game would be fine if you didn't have to hit those buttons constantly. Back on track, the game is pretty short, only about 4 hours if you're speedrunning, but it ends with a boss fight with the man himself, Zagor, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. This joke is getting really fucking old. Zagor himself doesn't really have many interesting attacks, but he has an interesting mechanic of transforming into every enemy you've fought thus far. This is genius. Battling each enemy shows how far you've come as a player, and it ends with a triumphant swing finally slaying the Warlock once and for all. where does that leave us? Well, the online impression of this game is that it's a tough-as-nails RPG that's criminally underrated for its graphics, but not much else. My interpretation of this game is different from a lot of people on the internet, a fair consensus considering my intense autism over the DS. In the end, to me, this game signals the true scope of what it was originally meant to be, limited only by its hardware and time constraints. Big Blue Bubble went on to make My Singing Monsters and have distanced themselves from this game as far as possible since it was released, but it goes to show that even in the most flawed games, there is passion in the industry. Only sometimes, it takes a bit of grinding to find that. It gets worse. I thought I was going to be able to end this video at the 12-minute mark. I thought that was it. I thought we were done with this crap, but we're not. We're not done. No, we're never going to be done. Not today. Up until now, this video has been a guise, a front, to show you that this little tiny... Christ, I gotta get it the fuck out now. Little tiny machine is not, in fact, just a stop smoking coach. And originally, that was the plan. It was going to end off as showing that tech demo and then going out to outro and then stopping, and then I would never have to do this stupid video again. I even scrapped the original intro with like Halo 2 Breaking Benjamin music just so I could fucking like replace it, because halfway, no, not even halfway, 3/4, no, after I beat this game, I realized that was not all it was. The ending of this game is not traditional. You don't get a happy cutscene. I mean, you do, but not a traditional one. No, when you end the game, you go back to the starting town. More specifically, you end up in the blacksmith's shop, and then you go and talk to him. And he tells you it was pointless. He informs you, kindly, that an NPC standing outside of his blacksmith has also gone up the mountain and come back. And he informs you that everything that you just did, every quest item you got, every quest you completed, every fucking whatever, was just reset. So not only was your entire trip a ruse to get you to just come back and do it again, all of your progress is reset to 0. I spent countless months trying to find a reason to enjoy this game. I spent at least 2 months of my life chipping away at this game, trying to find some semblance of enjoyment in it, and I swear to God, everything was ripped. It's not like you lose any of your stats, or go down levels, or lose your items, or your armor. No. When the game resets, the game enters New Game Plus, or Hard Mode, where enemy health and attack damage is quadrupled. I didn't come back. I did not fucking return, okay? I quit. I closed the game. I didn't touch it for 2 months. I had a whole fucking existential crisis that nobody fucking cares about, okay? I quit. I stopped fucking playing this game. I stopped. But something pulled me back. I played a little bit into New Game Plus. I played a little bit in the hard mode. I got further in. And then it deleted my save slot. I deleted my save slot and started over. This isn't fighting fantasy. This isn't an adaptation of a game book that was super popular in the 80s and then slowly fell into obscurity as the 2000s came along. This is a metaphor for life. Okay, I sound like insane and look insane right now and completely just fucked up. Like I put on the whole fit for the fucking bullshit. I look insane, but here you start in a boat with no skills, no slots, no skills, no nothing. You start completely naked. You're fucking useless when you start. You go through the tutorial, which is more like a metaphor for school. You get all the mechanics down. You learn how to cast your spells. You learn how to fight. You don't learn everything, but you learn what you need to. Afterwards, you get into the mountain, you wander through a little bit, you get a decent part into the game, and then you reach a place called the Ring Square. It's this section that I was playing earlier. The Ring Square is the difficulty wall. It is the place that you get in your life where you stop, and you feel like you cannot progress at all. And you kind of can't. So your only choice is to go back, grind, level up your skills, get better gear, and then come back. And I mentioned this earlier, you keep doing that. You keep coming back, you keep dying, you keep going back, you keep leveling up your skills, you keep buying better gear, and eventually, you reach the end. And the final difficulty wall, the final hurdle of this game is the Warlock. The Warlock at the end of the game is, no matter what, at least twice as powerful as you when you go up against him in terms of stats. He has 4 times the health, he's ridiculously strong, his magic is ridiculously strong, he transforms into every challenge you face thus far. He is the ultimate metaphor for the difficulty wall that, like, you first hit. And it just keeps happening, and then the Warlock is basically just an insult to everything you've done so far, while also being a challenge, which is a really fucking good idea. And I hate it. And you kill the Warlock. You overcome that difficulty wall. And it sends you back and tells you to do it again. What? I think this game is about overcoming struggle. The walls of difficulty that you face are metaphors for times of struggle. The times of struggle that you face in your life, or in a task, or in anything you do. The pessimism of the NPCs throughout the entire, and I do mean the entire game, is just people bringing you down while you're trying to accomplish your goal. The loop of the game itself is a metaphor for the endless, and I do mean endless, challenges that life throws at you. And it rewards you for completing it, and then sends you back. Because that's just how life is. You yourself become the ultimate metaphor for overcoming that struggle. And this was developed by a studio who maybe had 7 months to make this game and got no good reviews for it at all when it came out. And this is coming from a studio that wanted to make My Singing Fucking Monsters.
To the skeptics who don't believe it's the same group of people, I checked. It is. I did use a better mic for this specific shot just to piss everybody off.
I hate that this tiny studio made probably my favorite RPG completely by accident. I hate that this game is so well-fitting for a metaphor that I myself have had to face within the last couple of months, creatively and livelihood-wise. I hate that the wizard, or the warlock, or whatever the fuck, is like so perfect a metaphor for the end of a journey, or like the end of a chapter in your life. And I hate so much that the loop is such a perfect personification of that struggle being overcome. You know what? I think I'm done.
I think this warlock needs to know how much I fucking hate him.
You act as if I cannot erase you with a single thought, you imbecile.
Just before you start monologuing, your shoe is untied.
I don't wear.
Hey guys, hi, it's me. It's the day before this video is supposed to go live. Sorry I was gone for so long. By any chance the YouTube algorithm picks up this video and makes it into like a huge hit, anybody who's watching, I don't usually make this. If you're here for just this, like, go somewhere else. It's been a long time. I'm gonna make more videos. I'm back from my slump. I'm back. I'm not dying in college, so yeah. I guess we'll see you in the next one.